interviewing is what gets you jobs. So your interviewing skills is what actually lands you jobs. And a lot of people have a hard time in the job search because they think that what gets them jobs are their on-the-job skills. And this is not true at all, because most jobs you can learn on the go if there's something that you don't already know, or it's something that you can pick up as you go. I used to notice this a lot when the whole learn how to code thing was in full swing. So I would see people just wasting their time learning all this stuff about coding. In my experience in real life, not only would it take years to learn, but a lot of the job interviews, the questions would be totally unrelated to the actual job. I'm talking about tech because it's the best example I can think of. But this happens in every industry where you're not rushing necessarily every day to complete a super complex task. Super complex tasks are usually tackled by teams. You have a ton, there are deadlines. It's not like every day you're like this super genius trying to solve equations. It's usually collaboration, a lot of talking, a lot of meetings, things that anybody could pick up, that anybody reasonably smart could learn. But employers are just not giving you that chance. Employers are not training you. So the point of what I'm saying is that what gets you jobs are your interviewing skills. What makes a good interview? What makes you a good interviewee? Basically, eloquence. You can talk about your experience, about what you've done in an eloquent manner. How do you become more eloquent in your job interview process? Well, you do this by getting used to telling your work history, talking about your resume as if it was a personal story, because this is more compelling. You need to get used to telling your greatest achievements, not as a bullet point, but as a story. One thing I get asked all the time, can you tell me what your greatest achievement? I am a little bit cheeky. I take the frame of the conversation and I go, oh, because personally, I married a great woman and we've had 10 years of marriage and I consider that a great achievement. And so they laugh, oh, no, I mean professionally. And then I go, oh, okay, you meant professionally. All right, so professionally, one of the greatest achievements that I ever had was when I was working for a particular client. They were a logistics client and they had over 1,000 automated tests, and we managed to reduce the execution time from like 8 hours to 2 hours. And this took a lot of advocating from me and like talking to QAs and technical leads to get this done. And yeah, I would consider that one of my greatest achievements. And I know it by heart. I didn't even have to think about this because they've asked me this question, which they will ask you so many times that I just know it. Notice that I didn't go, I increased the efficiency of the automated test. No, I told the story. As a matter of fact, I could make it even more dramatic. Yeah, executing the automated test was taking so long that everybody was reticent to make any changes to the code, and so that sort of stuff. You get the point. So tell your work history as a personal story. Study your resume. The resume gets your foot in the door, but it's also the baseline, the base that you can use to charm them with your experience, to show them that you have mastery over the subject. One thing that's important is that it's not expected of anybody to know everything. So it's okay to sometimes say, I don't know. The important thing is maintaining frame and redirecting to something else. Do not do it like reading a bullet point. Like, no, that's not my resume. No, I don't know it. Kills the conversation. It makes you lose charm points. It makes you lose eloquence points. And so in their minds, you drop a little bit from preference of like, yeah, I really like this guy. They go like, he's not bad, but I'm not sure. Let's keep looking. Obviously, if it's on your resume, you should be prepared to answer questions about it, even if the answer is something like, I've used that tool before, but it's very deep, so I'm not an expert on it, but I've definitely used it and I have experience with it. Something like that, that shows that you're not trying to pass yourself off as an expert in something that you're not. And the other thing is that sometimes the person interviewing you doesn't know about the tool either. The person interviewing you, it's usually just a guy. It's usually just a worker that they more or less force to interview you. Unless it's like a very big important position and you're getting interviewed by like the CTO or something like that. If it's just like a regular job, the person interviewing you is not an interview specialist. This is why you being charming, eloquent, maintaining frame, owning the narrative of the interview makes you shut up in their perception. Most people tend to want to get along. They tend to be agreeable. So they're not out there to try to actively debunk you. It's kind of like you debunk yourself. They just ask you questions, a couple questions. And if you seem capable, you wow them basically. If he's not a detective, he's not Hans Landa from Inglourious Basterds, try to catch you in a contradiction. That's not what's happening. So as long as you're eloquent, charming, maintain frame, tell your history as a story instead of a bullet point, a list of stuff, you'll wow them. You'll shoot up in their perception. They'll want to hide. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.